up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives us honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in Pete this week. Pete, good to see you.
Hey, Derek. Good to see you too. I think I had my shortest or my closest cut to when we're starting the episode. I finished Zootopia about 5 minutes before we started recording. So
yeah,
I'm ready to talk about it.
And also this week, we've got Steve. Steve, glad to have you
Hello,
with us.
everyone.
Yeah. And sadly, Kate unable to join us this week. So it's just going to be guys' night. So with that being said, we're going to go completely off script. No, we're not. Guys, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, share. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere at Plus Platoon. So that way, get subscribed. You will never miss any episodes. You'll never miss anything we post during the week either. So enjoy some of the stuff because we got some stuff coming up that's going to have some interesting comments, I have a feeling. So
yeah, there's a lot releasing in the next month.
There's a lot releasing in the next 2 days.
Well, yeah, that too.
So, okay, Pete, Kate is not here. You requested it.
I've never done the news, so here comes the Disney Plus news. Boop, ba, da, ba, ba, ba.
Kate comes very back.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So anyways, here's the news that is come out. Andor is going to be showing the first 2 episodes of the series on ABC, FX, Freeform, and Hulu on Thanksgiving weekend, different nights, setting up the series finale on November 23rd. It's also reported that the season finale is going to be 2 episodes. I don't know if that's true or not. Oh man, Kat. We'll be discussing the entire series on our December 1st show.
I actually saw the 2-episode finale several places, so I'm not doubting it at this point.
So, but they just dropped episode 11. So, are they saying there's actually 13 episodes?
There may actually be 13 episodes. We shall see, or they're going to do a behind the scenes thing. Who knows? I've heard there's 2 episodes coming out next week.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about December 1st. Without reviewing it ourselves, I do have to say, the general consensus is it's very positively reviewed show, but it's also not getting it's not getting the views that most of the Star Wars shows have gotten. So I think that's the reason that they're doing this, is to try to drum up people to watch the show.
I would definitely agree. And but if I was ABC, to be perfectly honest, knowing those first few episodes, I would have done a compilation of the first 3 or 4 into one to try and truly draw people into the show.
Yeah, because the first 2 episodes don't really have a conclusion, right?
No.
I agree with you. I would have taken the first 3 and edited it down into an hour and a half special or something like that. Yeah, for sure. Also, there's a new Indiana Jones series in development for Disney Plus. Harrison Ford is not thought to be involved, and it is believed that it will follow the 5th movie debuting in 2023. Harrison Ford has recently said that there's no Indiana Jones without him, but I would be surprised if Lucasfilm is thinking the same way.
Or at least the people who are wanting the money for Disney TV.
Well, right. Yes.
Yeah.
And then finally, Elton John Live, Farewell from Dodger Stadium, will debut live on November 20th at 11 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific. So I guess a lot of East Coasters probably aren't going to be watching it live, but who knows? It will also include guest artists and interviews with John and other celebrities cut in. So, if you're a big Elton John fan, or maybe even if you're not, this is something interesting to watch. Once it debuts live, I would assume it'll be available following that, streaming anytime you want.
I would assume anyway, because in theory, this is his last concert. So
yeah, at least his last North America concert is what they're saying. So, but yeah, he's supposed to retire after this tour.
But then again, how many retirement tours have the Eagles had? I mean,
well, and there's a lot of bands out there that say they're done and then they, for enough money, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, this week we have grabbed another one of our diamonds in the rough. Before he joined us, Steve had actually mentioned this one, but it's one Pete and I had gone on the list also. We were watching the documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty. Basically, it follows the Disney animation from the travesty that was the Black Cauldron, but really focuses on what is known as the Disney Renaissance. So that's Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Rescuers Down Under, Aladdin, Lion King. Those especially not so much Rescuers Down Under, but the other are pretty much the big four that are focused on a lot for this show. And it goes into the background of the artists. It talks about the executives. It talks about some of the music. So it really dives into some of the nitty gritty of Disney in the late 80s and early 90s. Pete, I'm going to start with you. Did this show keep you entertained?
Well, this is the third time I've seen this movie, and I was still entertained by it, even knowing the story. I think it's a very well told story. As you said, it really goes from, at the start of the movie, Disney animation is basically at just about the lowest point they were in their entire history, where they were just kind of being kept along. They were shuffled off the lot to a office in
Glendale.
Was it Glendale they got moved to?
Glendale.
Yeah, like a warehouse in Glendale. And as you said, the Black Cauldron, they've been working on the Black Cauldron for like 6 years, and it was a mess. Went from it talked a lot about the animators, but then also talked about Michael Eisner, Jeffrey Katzenberger, and Roy Disney quite a bit, and also Peter Schneider.
Yes,
that the other guy. So basically, the executives that basically ended up helping to bring Disney back to the forefront of animation, and kind of the ups and downs of that process and how it worked. And I will say it's a little bit self-congratulatory, because the film was made by Don Hahn, who produced a lot of these movies, and clearly they're very proud of themselves that this all happened. But I mean, when you talk about I guess, what do you call it, the golden age of Disney or whatever, in the 90s, this was really what led up to it. Animation takes so long to produce, 3-4 years to make an animated movie. It really all started, with the Eisner era, which started, I think, around 83, 84. And it took almost 5 years to get to the Little Mermaid from that.
Right.
But even before that, they do talk about Great Mouse Detective, and then Oliver and Company was really the first movie that was successful in a while. Yes. Even though they don't spend a lot of time on talking about that, they do mention it as well. So yeah, I was very entertained by it. And as I said, the first time I saw it, I loved it. And this is actually the third time I've watched it, and I still enjoyed it. So what about you, Steve?
This was the second time I saw it. And like you, Pete, I was entertained the second time. Picked up a little bit more bits and pieces as watching it. I'm fascinated by sort of the perfect storm that we had between Eisner and Wells and Katzenberg, of how that all worked together, even though they didn't get along, to come through with like some movies that are still going strong today. That people say Disney, and you mention a movie, they know what you're talking about. Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, I will say this was the second time I'd actually watched it all the way through. Also, I watched it when it first came out on the service, well before we had even started this show, and yeah, it kept me entertained. It moves along. It doesn't get bogged down too much in any super deep detail, which I kind of like. Watched it with my wife this time. Well, watched about the first half with her last night, and she enjoyed it. She thought it was really interesting as well. So yeah, it definitely did keep me entertained. It does have some stuff there that I was not aware of, and so I'm actually going to let you lead this one off. Steve, what were you most surprised about? What's something you learned from this that you never would have thought?
I actually learned this the first time I watched it, that the Rescuers Down Under was the first time that sort of computer animation was used. So remembering that's where it sort of started off, which sort of led to the Pixar thing. Also how Lion King was sort of the second thoughts. It was like the second-rate animators that got put on that, and actually that being a bigger hit than Pocahontas.
So now, Steve, I will say I'm hurt because if you had been watching our review of Rescuers Down Under, you would have known that it was the first one. Yeah.
Well, actually, I watched Waking Sleeping Beauty before I saw your show, so I actually knew that.
Fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
For me, I had not. I guess I knew, but I had not remembered that Roy and Walt's son-in-law. Excuse me, Roy. The Roy in this is Walt's nephew. It's his brother's son. I had not remembered
Roy's son.
Had not remembered that he and Ron Miller, who was Walt's son-in-law, had the big falling out that they did, because they were kind of running it together, and Roy left because he was fed up with how. And this is part that confused me a little bit. He left, but still had the power to bring in Michael Eisner. It was
he didn't have the power to bring him in, but he
had enough influence on the board.
He had enough influence still on the board to suggest it, and I think the board went with it. I mean, the movie kind of made it sound like he did it himself, but I don't think it was just him.
Yeah, and then I had not realized that, or had forgotten that Oliver and Company opened at the same time as Land Before Time, which was the Spielberg animated show about dinosaurs, with Littlefoot in that whole group. And I had not remembered that Land Before Time is a better movie. And I will come out and say it's not Disney, it is Spielberg. Land Before Time is a better movie than Oliver and Company. But that's what happens when you're dealing with Dickens. But it definitely beat Land Before Time at the box office.
Yeah.
So, Pete, what was probably most surprising for you?
I think the first time I saw it was just really how contentious things were between the different Roy and Katzenberger and Michael Eisner. And I know that Katzenberger was heavily influenced. I knew that when Frank Wells passed away, that Michael Eisner did, Katzenberg wanted that job and Eisner didn't give it to him. And I knew that's why he left, but all the stuff kind of leading up to it that led to that, I was not aware of that kind of detail to it. And, it's without talking about going beyond the movie, really that incident of Frank Wells' death that they do spend some time on, but not a lot of time on, really changed the direction of Michael Eisner's tenure with Disney. He became much more financial bottom dollar guy after that. And, we got a lot of things like Disney California Adventure and which is Hong Kong Disneyland, and basically a lot, they really started kind of cheaping out on things after that. and this was, you know, the Eisner that also, I mean, giving him credit, he established the Disney Decade, which was expanding the resorts and the parks with Hollywood studios and all the hotels and everything, and you know, really expanding downtown Disney and all those things, Pleasure Island. That was all his doing. But then later in the 90s, he kind of, they kept doing things, but then they would do it very bottom dollar. And the stuff that went on for, you know, till the end of his tenure, till Iger came along, was actually a lot not good stuff for the Disney parks. And, you know, you also got to figure it eventually similarly led to I don't want to say the downfall of animation, but that very late 90s, but especially the first
Brother
decade
Bear
of the
and Home on the
2000s.
Range
Yeah,
era.
Home on the Range, Chicken Little.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
Chicken Little is
wait a minute.
terrible.
Chicken Little is funny. Chicken Little is,
Chicken Little is Disney doing a DreamWorks movie.
Yes, it is. It's Disney doing Shrek, but
yes,
it has its funny moments.
Okay, I'll give you that. It's still substandard Disney.
That I would agree with.
So,
although for that period of time, who could tell?
Well, yes, yeah. So yeah, but even some good movies came out of that period. Emperor's New Groove is actually pretty entertaining. Lilo and Stitch is very popular. I wouldn't argue that it's really all that good.
No, Mulan is very popular.
Yeah, Mulan was still in that period of the you know, again, the residual of what went on in this movie.
Yeah.
So I would say like through Tarzan was what was going on until we saw this movie end, and then after Tarzan is kind of what came after Katzenberg left, and Katzenberg went to help form DreamWorks. Of course, right. Which, you know, they hit really big with Shrek. They had a couple of things before that, but it took some doing before they were competing with Disney. Really was Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon, I guess, and Kung Fu Panda, right? Yeah. So they've had some good stuff too.
Right.
And I think
anyways,
go ahead, Steve.
I was just fascinated about how close to Disney was as a company was about to collapse, being sold off in parts when it sort of started. Because me growing up, not realizing until I was older that a lot of the movies I saw as a kid were basically re-releases. Like they had brought them back and re-released them. And then just how this combination of releasing Pinocchio on cassette, that being the first one on VHS, and all these new movies sort of brought them back from the the brink.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to pay any more royalties. They already owned it. And I thought it was interesting that I remember when Pinocchio came out on VHS, because of course we bought it. But what they would do then, there was a period of time there where they would release the old movies in theaters, and then they would bring them out on cassette. The interesting thing I thought was how, I think it was Eisner said, you know, this isn't going to make any difference when we release it 7 years again in the theater, that the audiences will still come out. Well, once they put them on VHS, they never did re-release them.
Yeah, generally to theaters. Yeah.
So that was no, it's really not. But the license to print money that they got, and then of course, every time a new format came out, they made a big deal about, okay, now this Disney one's available on Laserdisc, or this one's available on HD DVD or Blu-ray.
What was that little one with Sony that had
that was the HD
mini disc?
That was the HD DVD. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on Betamax. No.
No one released them. No.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here, and there's a lot of stuff you get to hear from the actual people that are their interviews from the time period, or their interviews from people who are looking back on the time period. The part I didn't really see was there wasn't a lot of looking back. I don't think we got any looking back from Katzenberg. Eisner did a little. Eisner, they were able to go back and do a little interviewing with. Roy, they got before he passed away. Katzenberg didn't really want to have much to do with this movie because, of course, make him look that good.
Yeah, I think he, once he was gone, he didn't really ever talk about it very much.
Yeah. So
yes, and the editing of the 12 minutes of Black Cauldron, which just fascinates me. Like, what 12 minutes did you cut out?
And how could it have made the movie better by cutting it? Guys, I will put it out there for our audience. If you've never seen the Black Cauldron, don't.
I've never seen it. That's one of the few I've never seen. It's just nothing.
I did suggest that as something we probably should watch to see.
And it got thoroughly ignored. Okay, so there were, as we said earlier, there were 4 big movies that came out in this period of time. There was Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. And they came out in that order. And talk about some heavy hitters. What we did is I asked the rest of the platoon to rate those 4 in order. Not give them pixie dust ratings, but to just rate those 4 in order of how they should go. And Pete and Steve have not seen how we ended up ranking these. So, Gina, real quick, can you drop the banner down? Okay. So, in 4th place is Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid came in at an average of 3.5. We all kind of dropped down. Little Mermaid was, I think, number 3 or 4 in all of our rankings. Part of it for me is without the music, the movie's slow. Is part of the reason I don't like Little Mermaid as much. Without the music, you don't have a ton.
And the other thing I would say is, like, it's before the animation got really good, really high quality. It's still, if you go back and watch it now, it's not
a cartoon.
It's not right. It's the music totally makes that movie. If as you say, if you take away the music, it's not really anything special. But yeah, the music is fantastic. So
yeah, it was either my number 3 or my number 4. Like, I love Ursula as the villain, but the story, it just didn't hold with me.
Yeah.
I put it as my number 3. So
now this next one of you 2 gentlemen is not really going to like. In number 3 is Aladdin. And Pete, I know you put this as number 1. Can you care to explain why?
Wow. And so it's everybody else brought it down, huh?
Yes.
So I'll tell you why. It's kind of a personal thing for me. I think it just, this movie just hits me in because I'm a big, like, Indiana Jones adventure type fan. So those are my favorite types of movies. And even though the the music, again, I love the songs written by Menken and Ashman, but, like, the story, I think, it really hits. It's really super funny. Robin Williams was just brilliant as the genie, but it's also got some good action. And I don't know, I just think it's as I said, I had a hard time differentiating the top 3. I would give, if somebody told me to give them pixie dust ratings, I'd give them all 5s. So it was just a matter of, this is the one that hits for me the best.
Okay. And to me, you brought up something interesting. Without Robin Williams, there is no movie. Without Robin Williams, it is a lot harder movie to sit through because he makes the movie to me.
And Derek, that's why it was my number 4. Because I took out Robin Williams, it was the 4th one. So that's when I looked at it. So for me, 3 and 4, Aladdin and Little Mermaid, I went back and forth between 3rd and 4th place. Yes, Pete, what were you going to say?
I guess I was going to agree with that. I wouldn't say he's 100% of what makes the movie work, but yeah, it would be hard to imagine the movie without him. I would agree with that.
Well,
sure.
You don't have to imagine it, because look at Will Smith and what he did with the genie.
Well,
so, yeah. So I think at least I'm of the opinion that this is a far better version of Aladdin than that live action version was.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Number 2 was Beauty and the Beast. And again, this is the only one that's been of the 4 that was nominated for Best Picture. I would argue it's still the only true Best Picture animated nominee. When it was 5, it was a whole lot more select.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the music on this one. You've got the animation is really starting to come into its own on this one. You've got some of the early computer graphics with like, still remember the first time I ever saw that ballroom scene on the big screen, and the computer animation on it is just amazing. So this has hit number 2 on our list.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against this movie. It's really a Broadway musical brought to animation, like the story and the characters and everything like that. And that's another thing in this movie that kind of like they didn't talk too much about it, but like initially this was going to be like a drama, like not a drama,
Yes.
but it was going to be
a drama. Yeah,
it was going to be not a musical. And they actually like produced like 20 minutes of film, and they were like, this is garbage. They threw it all out. And then that's when they went to
Howard Ashman
Ashman and Menken, who were Aladdin was really Ashman's like that was his baby. He really wanted to do Aladdin, and they kind of twisted their arm to do Beauty and the Beast. And I think Beauty and the Beast actually came out first.
It did.
But anyways, again, it's a great movie. It's the reason it was really Disney Theatrical's first stage musical.
Yes,
because it works so well as a musical. A lot of the Disney movies, we call them musicals, but they really only have 4 or 5 songs in them. And this one really was back to front a musical. I mean, 8 or 9. I mean, not that they didn't add more songs for the stage, but there's a lot of singing in this movie.
And so many of the old ones that we call Disney musicals, the music doesn't always drive the action. In this one, the music definitely helps drive the action.
Right. Yeah, it's really done like, I mean, as I said, right from the beginning, you go into that little town full of little, whatever.
It's the opening number. Yeah, it's their opening intro.
Right from the beginning, it's a musical, So, yeah. And so I think we know what's number 1.
Yes.
We do definitely know what's number 1, and it is The Lion King. And this was actually ranked number 1 in 3 out of the 4 ratings.
So it's just me.
Yeah. And I think Pete, you put it at number 2.
I did, yeah.
So, to me, Lion King is the complete package. It's got the songs, it's got the story. I would argue it probably wouldn't be as great without Timon and Pumbaa. But the casting in it is just amazing. We have reviewed this on the show before, and it got very, very high scores across the board. Yes, including me. So I just think it's a complete package. Steve, how about you?
I put it as number 1 because I guess love the story, knowing that it was somewhat original story from Disney instead of taking like a fairy tale. Like you could definitely, I remember first seeing the thing going, this is Hamlet like, but I guess like the story, liked the animation of it. Just like Beauty and the Beast, though, I'd say this one has gone on to a bigger Broadway production than the Beauty and the Beast. Seeing that in person, amazing what's been done with that. I look at the parks where the Lion King performance, whatever it is called, constantly is a big draw. Yeah, thank you. Festival of the Lion King. I've seen that once or twice. Still amazing songs. Definitely was, again, for me, the Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, I was going back and forth of how to put those in order and having different reasons for each one. But eventually this one won out for basically the story. Pete, what do you think?
Yeah, well, again, I can't. these top three are so close. It's any day, or I could argue for all three. But what I'll say about The Lion King is, of these movies, so if you when you have kids, your kid at some point will pick some movie and watch it 800 times in a row, and usually more than one movie. But of these four movies, the one my daughter chose to watch for about 2 years was The Lion King, and I've seen that movie probably more times than I've seen any other movie. And it holds. I don't mind watching it even now because it's so good. And my daughter was in a theatrical production of it as well, and so I watched it rehearsed for months, and I watched the stage version with a bunch of kids 3 times in a row, and I've seen it on the Broadway version. It just doesn't get old. The songs are so good too. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I do love Elton John, but like, it still amazes me that he wrote such good songs for a stage musical at that kind of later point in his career. Because you listen to some of these songs, and other than "Can You Feel the Love Tonight," I don't feel like you listen to them and go, "Yeah," I don't think you feel and go, "Oh, this is an Elton John song." They're just great musical songs. So yeah,
Now it's interesting. We talked about how many songs were in the others. I think there's only 4 songs in this one, and the last one is like halfway through the movie. Hakuna Matata is Can You Feel the Love Tonight's the last song, but we've got Circle of Life. I don't count Morning Report because it wasn't in the original.
Right. I want to be. I can't wait to be king.
Okay, I can't wait to be king.
There's 5. I can't wait to be king. Be prepared.
And Hakuna Matata.
And Can You Feel the Love Tonight? So there's 5. Yeah.
Oh, Be Prepared is a great. That's just a great like.
Oh, that is such a great villain song.
Yeah, it might even be the best villain song.
Yes, it's better than Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Yeah, I was going to say Poor Unfortunate Souls you'd have an argument for, but yeah, it's definitely the imagery they use in that movie, and that's another thing that kind of I think it was Steve that mentioned it, like talking about that it was supposedly the second tier animators.
Yeah,
and Pocahontas is a very lovely movie as well, but like, you don't look at Lion King and go, "Oh, this isn't well done." I mean, it looks great. So
okay, so as we do on every movie we watch, we need to give a pixie dust rating out of 5 cups of pixie dust. And remember, we're going with the documentary, not those different movies we just talked about. So on the documentary, Pete, cups of pixie dust out of 5.
This is one of my favorite Disney documentaries, and so I'm ranking it on a documentary scale, which is not the repeatability of an entertainment type movie. Like, this is not a movie I would want to watch over and over again. But I would still give this a 4.5. Just especially if you're a fan of Disney animation, it's a must see. Just very, very interesting. I guess I would say if you're not really a Disney fan, it's maybe not for you. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a Disney fan. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. What about you, Steve?
I'm going with you, Pete. 4.5. Second time I watched it, totally was into it the second time around. Picked up on different things. Very strong movie. One of the first documentaries I actually watched on Disney Plus, which led me to many of the other ones like Howard and the one about the Sherman Brothers.
The Boys.
Thank you.
Yep.
So 4.5. What about you, Derek?
And for me, I put it up against The Boys. And so, because that is probably where I kind of set the level, and this to me is right equal there, I'm going to give it a 4. It's not something that kept me absolutely riveted to the TV either time I watched it, but it was something that definitely very interesting, and I can see myself in 3-4 years going back and watching it again. So 4 gives us an average over 4, guys. I think that's very interesting. And I know Kate wasn't able to be on, but talking with Kate, she really, really enjoyed the documentary as well. Yeah. So definitely
this was her first time seeing it, so it would have been interesting to hear.
Yeah,
maybe we can get her to talk on the next episode for just a couple minutes about her thoughts.
Yeah, but definitely one that gets these. unlike some of these stuff where we said don't go watch this, this is a please go watch this. You will not regret it. So, okay. The other item that we watched this week were these new Zootopia Plus shorts. This was a series of 6 shorts that were unrelated, that followed different sets of characters in the Zootopia cinematic universe, the ZCU, if you will. I'm going to go eeny, meeny, miny, Steve. Of the 6, which short was your favorite?
I'm gonna go with the real rodents of Little Rodentia. At first, when it first started, I was just like going, "I'm not gonna like this. I'm not gonna like this." By the end, it was probably my favorite. And the reason why I'm my favorite is in the other one, the one later, The Godfather of the Bride. There's a callback to that short, which has cracked me up. So, because in that episode of The Real Housewives, they mentioned of don't invite Cousin Morty because he's going to be drunk on cheese. And in that episode, you see that he got invited and he's drunk on cheese. It gets cracked me up.
Now, do you like reality shows in real life?
I like Survivor. That's probably my big number one reality show. So I don't watch Real Housewives. That's why it's cringing. But I just found this one just hilarious. So
okay. I would say for
Derek?
me, it was probably the first one, the one with the bunnies and had the baby bunny. Is it a trope that has been done over and over and over again with the baby bunny getting stuck on the train and they having to go save it? Yes. Does that make it any less funny? No. The rest of them, I will say for me, they weren't all winners, but I would say probably my second place one, and I actually, Pete, I'll see which one you liked the best, and then I might talk about my second favorite one. So which one was your favorite, Pete?
So I don't know why this is, but I have to go with So You Think You Can Prance. I think because of Clawhauser was one of my favorite side characters from the original movie, and just the Chief Bogo doing all that stuff. I mean, it was a little bit of a ripoff of the Sing movies, which I also kind of like. But that one I think made me laugh the most of the 6.
Okay. I will say the other one that made me chuckle, but again, it was just one of those incredibly stereotypical, was the one with the waiter and the sloths.
Oh, the Dinner Rush.
Rush. Basically, it's this waiter who has tickets to the
Gazelle
concert, and she has 10 minutes to go until she has to leave, and in comes the sloth from the DMV and his date, and it's all about basically how everything, she is so worried about trying to get them orders and such that all of her other tables completely fall apart. She knows she's gonna be late for the concert. She's never gonna make it, and it ends up that that's also where the sloths are going. And the in credit scene of Zootopia, where Judy and Nick chase him down in that super fast red car,
right?
Yeah.
They pan the camera and it's them on the way to the Gazelle concert, and it's her in the back seat going, I think I'll walk. But
yeah,
I know.
Well, all 6 of them took place during
the movie,
the Zootopia movie,
and they're in chronological order, from the very beginning to the end. So yes, and then Nick and Judy actually are supposed to be in each episode, so they make a cameo in each episode. I did not catch all that, but
no.
Yes, I was doing some research today. Is they appear possibly in the background somewhere, that they're in each episode.
Okay.
I mean, they're in a lot of them.
I'm going to go back and check on. So
yeah.
I enjoyed them. They much better than I thought they would be.
Pete, did they work as a collective set? Did this work as a group of shorts?
For me, honestly, not completely. I was okay with it. I guess I wanted more from the more main characters from the movie than a lot of these shorts were really the the one note side characters. We had Duke Weaselton, and we had we had two about the shrews, which seemed a little excessive to me. Again, it's kind of a one note joke character, and then having two entire episodes. I'll agree with Steve that I think the Rodents of Little Rodentia was better than the Godfather parody. That
it was.
I didn't. I was like, I don't need two of these. So I don't know. For me, it didn't completely work. It was neat that they made them so that they were part of the going on during Zootopia. But as I said, there were better characters that they could have told stories about than what they did. So it didn't. We'll get to when I'm assuming we're going to give them pixie dust, but I would say some worked, some didn't. What about you, Steve?
I would agree. I did not like the Weaselton one, the musical parody. I like musicals. That was just painful to watch. Overall, they were entertaining. They made me chuckle. I liked them. Might watch them again just to pick up on things that I missed. Derek, what do you think?
The Duke one was really a miss for me. That was the musical one was just it was horrible.
I agree
because it didn't make any sense. And this is coming from something that's a bunch of talking animals that try and get along with each other.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Real Rodents ones or the Godfather, the Rodent. Either one of those was not really ones that worked for me. This just I don't need to see these again at all. And I really hope that they don't try and come up with like another season or another set of these. It's not something that's needed. Disney Animation, you've got better stuff to do and better material to work with if you really want to do any kind of sequels like this.
Well, and to me, Zootopia, the movie, it's another movie that, because of my daughter, I've seen a ton, and the movie is quite good. And but part of the reason it's good is it at its heart, it's telling a story about racism, and you can argue whether it's hitting you over the head with it or not. I wouldn't call it subtle, but I think it's so I think it's a very interesting movie when you watch it a few times and you see what the story is trying to tell and what's trying to get behind it. And then these are just also light and fluffy. It's like I want more Zootopia, but I want something better than this. Is the way I feel.
That's fair. Okay. Wasn't necessarily planning on it, but why the heck not? Pete, give us a pixie dust on the set of Zootopia shorts.
2.5.
Okay.
3.
And I'm going to go with 2. You don't need to see this again. So, okay. I mean, it's the worst thing we've watched, but it's definitely not something I need to see again.
No, it's to me, it's one of the, of the different shorts that we've seen, this is probably the one I would rank the lowest.
Maybe, I don't know.
I like the Baymax one better.
The Baymax ones were better overall.
I certainly liked Doug Day's better, and the Olaf one's better. And I'm trying to think what else there was.
I'm for those of you not familiar, I'm looking at our list off that we have reviewed off the side of the screen, and there's some Star Wars stuff in here, but I don't really count that. So
no, that's not comparable. I'm talking about either Disney or Pixar shorts.
So it'd be basically.
I mean, the best is still Doug Day's and the Olaf ones.
Of the 4, because I really think there's just basically the 4 main ones that we've talked about. Those 2, and then the Baymax ones, which I like the Baymax ones better than these. I would agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Okay. Next week, we are going back to New York / a land far, far away with Disenchanted. This is going to be the new release. This is the Disney Thanksgiving live action release that they are coming out with. features the main cast of Enchanted. And Dina Menzel is actually going to sing in this one, which I think was one of our main criticisms of Enchanted, is that the main Broadway actress did not sing a song. But we will see how this goes. We are going to try and get next week's show out a little early for you guys so that you can listen to it before you go argue with all your friends at Thanksgiving and can spoil the entire movie for them. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Guys, we are booked all the way through the holidays, but there's got to be some time next spring that we don't have anything booked because they can't hopefully possibly keep shoving all this Marvel and Star Wars down our neck where there's nothing else that we can do, because we will find time to do other stuff. So if there's something that is coming out that you really want us to watch, if there's something from the vault that you want us to go for, please email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. Send us a message on Twitter, Instagram, message us on Facebook. We reply to all of them. Guys, our episodes come out every Thursday on YouTube and across all your major podcasting networks, which you know if you're listening and watching to this show, but just want to let you know they will come out every Thursday. And with that, everyone, we will see everyone next week and have a wonderful weekend. Bye, guys.
Bye. Oops.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews, as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @PlusPlatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.